Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Toni. Woo.
Welcome to the Tips with Toni podcast. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I hope you're enjoying the new episodes where I interview other experts. This next episode is actually not an interview. However, it is me giving a talk to a local gym in the Westchester area. And a lot of you who follow me on Instagram see that I go and I give these free workshops in gyms, yoga studios, physical therapy centers, and a lot of people have been asking for the content. Now you can see the full video of another talk I gave back in January on my YouTube channel. Also, if you go to my website, www.tipswithtoni.com, you get free access to part of the webinar. So if you're interested in watching, you're going to go there. If you're interested in listening, then stay right here because this next segment is the entire talk nutrition workshop that I gave at a local gym here in Pelham, New York. And there's so much information in there, and I thought, you know what, I have to share it with you guys. So without further ado, here is me speaking at a local nutrition workshop event. So enjoy. All right, sometimes people come late. I know it's raining, so we'll just get started and then. Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for coming, especially on a holiday weekend and in the rain. I really, really appreciate it. I'm really excited to talk with you today. I heard a little bit of chitter chatter before we even started about how I'm going to make you give up all your favorite foods, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to have to. So just ease you down a little bit, calm you down. I always like to start by explaining who I am and a little bit about my story so you guys know who I am and you can feel comfortable sharing. I really want this to be more of a conversation. I'm going to give you some general guidelines and nutrition information and education, but I have this board up here which we're going to utilize for all of your questions because most of you probably came in here with a question or a thought, and as the nutrition expert, I want to debunk those. There's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of information in the media, on the news, what diet is good for this and for that, what food is good for this and for that, and to be honest, a lot of it's not true. So my job as the expert is to educate you and to give you guys the facts or what the science says. So I just want to let you guys know kind of a little bit about me and who I am. My name is Toni, and I am Greek and Italian, and I grew up on Long Island, New York, with a very loving Greek and Italian family, okay? And as you guys know, if you know anything about Greek and Italian food, and if you don't, I'm so sorry, but it's amazing, and food is love, and food is abundant, and when I tell you my cousins lived 3 minutes down the block from me, and my other set of cousins lived another 3 minutes down the block from me, and my other set of cousins lived another three blocks down for me. Monday night was Aunt Diane's for dinner, Tuesday night was Aunt Joe's for dinner. No matter what sport I was playing, no matter what I was doing, the food was always there. It wasn't just Sundays, every day. And then because I was busy playing sports my whole life, as much as we had the home-cooked meals that were really rich and delicious and actually slightly nutritious, not completely off, the other times were we didn't have time. So it was fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. It was always like that, right? And so growing up, although I was very physically active, I always played sports, I was very overweight, and especially compared to my peers. And unfortunately, at the age of 9, it started where I started getting kind of bullied for my weight, and people would make fun of me and make me feel like I was less than just because of the size that I was. Meanwhile, I was super active. I felt happy. I was very lucky. I was a very, loved kid. But yet, when people start to continuously tell you that you're fat or you're too big or you'll never have a boyfriend or whatever it is, you start to believe that. And unfortunately, it really made me very depressed, and it put me into this hole where I just blamed everything on my weight. if nothing went right, it was because my weight was the problem. And it became the sole reason why I, couldn't do, I was always like a good student, but I could never get to like the AP courses. Like I just felt like that held me back. I was good at sports and I was, I always made the team, but I wanted to be on varsity as a freshman, but I didn't because it was my weight. Like I blame my weight for everything. And unfortunately, although, my family was very loving and supportive and all of that, my sister struggled with a lot of behavioral issues. And so I never felt like I could talk to them about how I was feeling. So I was having all these insecurities, not liking what I saw in the mirror, feeling like I wanted to get help for my weight, but never feeling like I could talk about it. Because my sister, she's okay now, but it was a little bit rocky for a while. We weren't really sure how, she was either gonna make it in jail or dead. I'm just gonna be honest. That's kind of the story when someone has behavioral issues and they use drugs and they hang out with the wrong people and they steal, like it's a mess. So because of that though, it forced me to do it on my own. And at first, it was very negative. So like anybody, when they try to lose weight, what do you do? If you're trying to lose weight, what do we think we're supposed to do? Stop eating, right? We just think, okay, I'm just not going to eat, right? Yeah. So now, and you guys know this because you work out here, right? And so imagine you don't eat for a whole day. I remember going to basketball tryouts, wanting to be on varsity, but thinking my weight was holding me back. So if I lost some weight, I'd get on varsity. So I had an orange the entire day for like a week. That's all I ate was an orange. And when I tell you those tryouts were grueling, like I couldn't pay attention in class. Nothing made sense to me because I was starving. And then, that doesn't work, right? We know that if we undereat, either we have no energy, and so, okay, yeah, I might lose this weight, but I'm not happy, I'm miserable. So that doesn't work, right? Or what ended up happening was if you're not eating, then what do we end up doing as a result? If you starve yourself for a few days, what would happen, do you think?
You overeat later.
Then you overeat later, right? And do we eat really healthy, nutritious food? No, we haven't eaten in 4 days. So I'm getting a cheeseburger and French fries with mozzarella on top and the gravy. That's what I would get for lunch a lot. Okay, so I started to realize like this wasn't working for me. I even tried exercising. Like I would eat normal, but then like if I felt like I overate, I would after I'd come home from basketball practice, I'd go on the treadmill at my house and like try to exercise it out. So I went through all of these things trying to figure it out on my own, looking up the things in the magazines. Oh, try this, do this. I thought maybe just exercise was the answer, and so I didn't have to change anything about my diet, but that didn't work either. So I tell you this because I want you to know that the thoughts that you have in your head are normal. We all have them. We all think that it's going to be a quick fix because that's what the media shows out there, right? Take this pill, take this magic potion, and you'll lose the 20 pounds. You don't have to do any work at all, right? Or they make you perceive, like we'll see in the media, a really, really fit girl eating a cheeseburger and a beer. And it's like, I promise you she didn't get that fit eating cheeseburger and beer, okay? So it's really confusing, right? So I realized that those ways weren't working. So what I decided to do was, I was like, there has to be a better way. And so I did a lot of, despite the struggles that my sister had and like the chaos I kind of grew up in, it really did force me to like do a lot of stuff on my own. So I was very introspective. I would journal all the time. I would kind of read things that I would, listen to like personal development things, like trying to kind of, understand, right? And it was actually great because I think that's it's like what made me who I am today. It's why I'm standing here before you today. So at first it didn't seem great, but it actually really helped me to kind of figure it out. So I started thinking, okay, if undereating doesn't work, overeating doesn't work, exercising to the point of exhaustion is not working, like what can I do differently? So I thought, you know what, let me start by just eating more vegetables and drinking more water. So I used to do a lot of like, the Starbucks drinks, the Frappuccinos, like all that stuff. I was like, you know what, from now on, I don't want to eat my calories. I just want to drink my calories, right? So I started drinking more water. Don't worry, we'll get there. So I started, drinking. I started drinking more water. I started eating more vegetables. I actually, when my mom would say, do you want to go to McDonald's? I would say, you know what, Mom? I'd rather not. Your cooking is really good. It's really healthy. I'd rather have that. I just have to practice. If you have more vegetables, I'll just have less of it. So I started eating more vegetables, watching my portions, and although my weight honestly didn't change much, I noticed myself having more energy, just feeling better. My skin was better. In general, I just was more confident. People were looking at me, they're like, you're glowing. I'm like, I don't know why, but I feel better. So I was like, there has to be something to this. So that's what kind of led me down the path of going to school to become a registered dietitian. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the differences between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist.
No, tell us.
Okay, so a lot of that's another big problem that I think that's out there. Hi, have a seat. No problem. No problem. Seat over there. So the term nutritionist is not a protected title. So what does that mean? That means that literally anybody in here can call themselves a nutritionist. And no one can tell you anything different. They might not trust you or believe you because they might be like, how do you know? But you could say you have your own weight loss journey and now you want to teach people how to lose weight. You can do that and no one's going to blame you, tell you can't. You can call yourself a nutritionist. Now the problem with that is we know that there's not healthy ways of losing weight, right? So that's the problem, right? But then there are nutritionists out there that people that, do their own research. Maybe they took a nutrition course. Maybe they know some things. And they're still great at what they do, and they can call themselves a nutritionist. So to be honest, it's not to say one better or the worse. It's just we don't know. And so I rather go to a certified personal trainer that I know has been doing this for a while and continues to stay up on the education and knows the physical body and studies the body versus just someone who just played sports their whole life and now is a trainer. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? So I decided to go to school to become a registered dietitian. And so I went to Oneonta, it's a college upstate New York. So I did my 4 years there of undergraduate. And so with dietetics, we study the sciences and we stay up to date. Things are always changing and evolving, and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And we learn about the different disease states. We learn it's very heavily based off clinicals, we call it medical nutrition therapy. So I learn a lot about healing people who have irritable bowel syndrome, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, literally anything that is related to food where people usually take a pill for it. Mm-hmm. As the dietitian, I'm there to work with the physician to make sure that it's yes, we don't want them to die of a heart attack, so let's prescribe this medication for their high cholesterol, but let's also see what lifestyle factors they can do and change so that they maybe eventually can wean off of this, right? So it's kind of like an interdisciplinary approach. And so a dietitian, legally, we're allowed to be in the hospital setting. We're allowed to be with doctors. Some will hire nutritionists, but it's not often that you see that, right? And so anyway, I got my degree in dietetics, and then I got my master's degree in nutrition and dietetics. So to become a registered dietitian, you can go to college for 4 years, and then when you graduate, you have to apply to a dietetic internship. And to be honest, there's only a 50% chance rate of getting matched. So you can go to school thinking you're going to come out as an RD and not get accepted because it's a very competitive program. So you have to work really hard, you have to get really good grades, you have to be really active, you have to get a lot of experience. I started as a nutrition educator when I was a sophomore in college. That's how long I was knew I needed to get the experience before I could apply for the internship. So I got into the internship, and I did I got my master's in nutrition and dietetics, and then I literally fell in love with nutrition. I knew I loved it because as I was learning, I was applying, and so I was overweight. And then every single stage of my journey, every year that I graduated, every new job that I got, I was losing more weight, getting more fit, really just loving how great I was feeling and loving how you're never done, right? So some of you might feel like your diet is so terrible that you can never fix it, but that's definitely not true, right? So it went from me having things like fast food and McDonald's and, juice and sweetened beverages and all that, to slowly incorporating more vegetables, to having more whole grains, to eating more lean sources of protein, to learning about portion control, to learning then about how to fuel my workout pre and post workout, to then learning how to, fuel my body to look good versus fueling my body to be healthy. Like, they're very different, right? So all this I've really, really loved. And I realized that everybody in here, anybody out there can do it too, but they have to do it in their own way. So I worked for, in hospital settings, I worked for eating disorder clinics, I worked for daycare centers. I've really been like kind of all over the map. And then last year, I decided to start my own business, and what I decided to specialize in is working with individuals one-on-one. Because what I recognized in all of those settings, although my job was important and my role was important and I was making an impact and I was doing things like I was even doing talks and stuff like that, I realized that this information out there, true or not, whatever it is, it doesn't actually matter unless it's applied to you, right? So just because, there's one sort of like, say there's information out there about the benefits of cycling, right? Maybe, and this probably isn't true. You could tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think it is. But like, say cycling is the best form of exercise, the absolute best form of exercise. But you don't like to cycle. Like, I don't like spin classes. I don't know why. I just don't. But so as great as it is, that doesn't work for me. So it doesn't really matter, right? But if you tell me that, there's other forms of exercise that I can do that are enjoyable, then I'm going to stick to it. So my whole concept is letting you all know that there's 110 or more different ways to be healthy, to eat healthy. Your diet shouldn't look like her diet, and your diet shouldn't look like his diet. If your diets all look the same, maybe one of you will be successful on that plan. But the others, probably not. And so what's the problem, right? We go to work, we go to school, we go to our, we're at a family event, and everyone's talking about the diet that they're on. And everybody's talking about what they're doing and what's working great for them. But does that mean that it's going to work for you? Probably not, right? Because why? What are the things that we need to take into consideration before we change our eating habits? Lifestyle, like what specifically?
Well, it depends on what. Maybe you have a job where you're sitting down all the time, or maybe you're a job where you're out and about like a lot. So maybe, you'd use up more calories.
Totally.
To someone sitting in an office all
Absolutely. So you might have two 50-year-old females who their body are the same height and same weight, but their calorie needs could be different based off their activity level. Right? So your needs are different. What else? What else do we need to consider before, changing up our nutrition?
Family history, genetics.
Age, genetics. I'm thinking more practical. Like, how many of you work a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? Okay, I actually don't, but not anymore. As of 3 months ago.
Mark can attend.
Right?
Come here 3 or 4 times.
Okay, so some of you have a very consistent schedule, right? Whereas, like, for me, some days I'm counseling, some days I'm giving talks, some days I'm on a podcast in the city. Like, every day is different for me. So if you told me that I had to eat my meals at this time and this time and this time, is that going to work for me? Probably not, right? If I'm juggling and going all over the place, right? If I'm on the go, I think you said something like that, right?
Yeah.
We are going to need things that are quick and on the go. You're not going to be able to like sit down, cut a steak and some veggies and a salad, and you might not be able to, right? What else do we need to consider?
Maybe allergies. People are allergic.
Allergies, right? Right? Some people can't tolerate gluten. Some people can't tolerate dairy. Some people can't have nuts, right? Right? So if I gave you a meal plan and you're allergic to dairy, and I told you that for breakfast you're having a yogurt parfait, and for lunch you're going to have a Greek salad, and for dinner you're going to have a zucchini linguine with a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese.
Probably wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work, right?
No.
But do you recognize that a lot of things out there are just like the one size fits all approach. It's like, oh, you want to lose weight? Here's the meal plan. Give me $100. Like, a waste of money.
So is that why all of these diets, like there's so many diets out there, is that why they don't work? Because they're too generalized,
Yeah.
right?
So there's a couple things there, right? So number one, they are not working in the sense that they're so general, so they're not taking into the consideration that it's not applicable, right? So you could probably follow it for a week, but who wants to eat the same exact thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner after a week, right? Some of you might. I don't, but some of you might, right? But what happens when you want to go, it's Easter tomorrow. What do you do at Easter if you celebrate it, right? Yeah. You can't follow the plan then, and then you feel like a failure. But you didn't fail at anything. You're eating. It's normal. You're a human. You have to eat, right? We just have to make better choices, right? So the one reason why they don't work is because they're usually very generalized. They might be too regimented and restrictive, and so you get bored and tired of it. They might have foods on there that you're allergic to. There might have foods on there you don't know how to cook or you don't have access to, right? And the other thing is they actually might work, but there's a couple things. If they're not healthy, then, like for example, so basically and this is a little bit complicated, but the concept is for weight loss, it's about calories in, calories out, right? So you could have, say you wanted to have a Big Mac and French fries, and to be honest, I don't know how many calories that is on top of my head, but let's say it's like, say your body needs 1,400 calories, and you decide you want to have a Big Mac, French fries, and a medium Coca-Cola, and that's your 1,400 calories for the day, and you need, say 1,800, you have 1,400, you'll lose weight because you're in a caloric deficit. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Right? And you could do that for a month, and you'll lose weight.
Just by eating that?
Just by eating that.
That doesn't sound very healthy, though.
But it's not healthy. Exactly.
Sounds good to me.
But it's not healthy, right? Because what's going to eventually happen? Forgetting about the fact that eventually you'll probably get tired of it. But what happens when we have lots of saturated fat, lots of fried foods, sugary beverages, and no vegetables, nothing with dietary fiber? What's the link? Do we know? Heart disease. The number one killer of Americans is heart disease. It's not cigarette smoking. It's not car accidents.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
It's heart disease. And do we know that lifestyle factors are the number one thing that can prevent that?
Right.
Exercise, which all of you are in here, you're exercising regularly. I'm just going to assume if you come here, that's great. However, exercise doesn't negate a poor diet. It will probably help with things like blood pressure. It will probably maybe make you think about your food choices a little bit more, but it's not going to do all of the work that a diet can do. It's together. It's together. So my whole concept of what I preach to people and what I help people to do is to break up with the diet culture and just commit to healthier living. So how do we do that? Everybody in here usually feels better or worse depending on what they eat, right? So let's think about it. Does anyone want to say when they eat something that they makes them feel really, really good, gives them lots of energy, versus something that they eat that kind of slows them down and feels sluggish?
Let's see.
What, specifics?
Yeah, just in general, for you as an individual.
Okay.
Is there anything in particular?
When I have grilled chicken, I've always got good energy and fine.
You feel better versus?
I love hamburgers. So when I eat a hamburger, I'm a little sluggish, a little tired, a little sleepy.
Okay. So that's probably related to the fat, right? So grilled chicken is a lean protein, so it's a great source of protein, doesn't have a lot of added fat to it, whereas a burger, if it's made with regular ground meat, which is usually about 83% lean, it's going to carry more fat to it. And so the fat is probably slowing you down. Also, fat has more calories per gram, so it could be that you just are having too many calories at once and your body's trying to burn it efficiently. So that could be right. So some people, to be honest, one of my really good friends, and she's the fittest dietitian you'll ever meet in your entire life. For her, I don't know, she just feels better when she eats red meat. Her energy's up. Maybe it's because of the vitamin B12 or the iron or whatever it is. Chicken for her makes her a little bit nauseous. Okay, and so for her, that's opposite. And so what I always tell people to do is what I do with my clients. I have all of my clients take pictures of their food and communicate with me daily about how they're feeling. I'm having them pay attention. I'm forcing them to pause, slow down, because when do we ever do that, right? Slow down a minute, think about what you're going to eat, take a picture of it, eat it, and then tell me how you felt after.
Can it be the portion also?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big thing too. Like when it comes to things like the sweetened beverages, like the frappuccinos or the burgers and stuff like that, they just tend to be so large. So like really there's nothing wrong with them. Like if you're used to getting like a venti frappuccino from Starbucks and you got a tall, you would feel probably a lot better, right? And so another thing that I really believe in is everything that you're currently doing now, instead of trying to go to the extreme and following a meal plan and like cutting it out completely, just do a little bit less of it. So if you usually get large, milkshakes, let's say, or large ice cream cone at Carvel, try small, right? If you usually put 2 sugars in your coffee in the morning, try 1. If you usually have a full plate, and when you look at your plate, it's mostly rice and very little vegetables, and some protein, try to add a little bit more vegetables and cut back on the rice a bit, right? Rice is not bad for us, right? Carbs are not bad for us. There's no food that's really bad for us. There's foods that are healthier for us than others, right? So there's foods that we should have more of and foods to have less of if we want to be a certain weight or if we want to have a certain amount of energy, if we want to have good skin. What do we do for good skin?
Omegas.
Omega-3s,
yeah.
That's helpful, which are in what?
Fish, salmon.
Fish, nuts, olive oil, avocado. What else? What else is good for good skin?
Vitamin E.
Vitamin E, right? Which is also in avocado, a lot of your leafy greens, a lot of those foods that are antioxidant rich. And I'm thinking of a beverage. Water.
Yeah.
Water's so good for that. And water is also so good for our energy. A lot of times we're feeling tired and sluggish or we have a headache and we might go for Advil or a cup of coffee. But if we had a glass of water, we would get that same amount of energy. And I'm a coffee fanatic, so like I'm not saying you can't have your coffee, but I'm just saying that sometimes it's like we overlook the little things. But those little things are what make it sustainable. It's what makes you not only not just lose the weight and feel good and feel healthy, for a month or 2 months, but for a lifetime. Like how awesome would that be if you could feel, when you do start to take care of your body a little bit more, and you do start to change your nutrition a little bit, and you start to feel better, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right? Feel good? Imagine feeling like that 75, 95%, like literally like most of the time. It's a great thing. You want to know why? Because you don't realize it now, but the amount of time and energy that is being wasted either obsessing or thinking about the diet or dragging your feet along and kind of not really having the most productive day, that all, when you can now, that time's not there anymore, and you feel energized and motivated and excited about your day, and happy and confident, and you love the way that you look, right? It doesn't take you 4 hours to pick out an outfit. You don't have to go shopping at Target and then Marshall's and then, this mall and that mall because you like everything that you put on, because you're confident in who you are. Not because you're a certain size, not because you're a certain weight, but because you know that every single day you've been taking care of your body the best way that you possibly can. Okay, so that's kind of the benefits. I think a lot of times when people veer away from making healthy choices, they forget why. They forget why it's important, right? So let's tell me, like what's great about healthy eating?
Losing weight, feel good. And
so what does that mean though?
Long-term health effects.
Long-term health effects, right? Now, one thing I do, and with my clients, we have a very close relationship, right? So one thing I do before I even begin working with them is I kind of pull them outside their comfort zone. And I really ask them, why does that matter? What does more energy mean? Let's think about it, for real. And I've helped a lot of people discover this and do this. But what does more energy mean?
Do more.
Like what?
Thinking. Clear thought.
Clear thought, right? So like less in the dark. What else?
I think you live better.
You live better.
Yeah.
I've actually had people get promotions at their job. So you get more money. Who doesn't want more money? What does more money mean?
Better last time.
More headache.
No. Less headache. I don't know about you, but less stress, right? Less stress, more freedom. So now you don't have to think about your nutrition. You don't have to stress about your diet. And now you also don't have to stress about your bills.
Yeah.
Right? And I say this a lot, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I talk a lot about like what we kind of waste our time with. Most of us live on this earth, and a majority of their life is spent about trying to lose weight, figuring out what diet to follow, and trying to figure out how to pay their bills. But I'm sorry, that is not why we were put on this earth. Right? So the sooner you figure out how to eat, and the sooner you can get out of that, that financial rut, because you start putting your money towards your values, right? So you start feeling better, you start having more energy, you get that promotion at your job, maybe you leave your job, I did. And you realize you have a passion, you have a purpose. There's more to life than just stressing over all these little mundane things. And so when I tell people that, at first, when they first start working with me, they're like, I don't know about that, but we'll work together. I don't know. But one of my clients, it was just amazing. He just called me. He's like, so, I'm an engineer and all, but I'm going to school to be an interior designer because my confidence is up there, and I realize that I've just been doing this just, because I thought that's what I needed to do to like kind of please my parents, but I know I'm more passionate about interior design, and so I'm going to go that route, and I just want to say thank you. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's so much more than just feeling good and being happy and healthy. Because we can kind of do that a little bit. We can psych ourselves out. We can say I'm happy and I'm healthy. My weight's not great and whatever. But it's more than that, right? It's about our relationships with our spouses or our significant others or whatever it is, right? If we have more energy, we're going to have more fun. I'm not going to say where. But, that's the reality, right? Our relationships are going to be better. Our dating life is going to be better, right? You're going to go out, you're going to feel good about what you're wearing. You're probably going to pick better prospects, because if you don't feel good in here, you're only going to attract those things that are not that great. Right? But if you feel good about who you are, you're going to just send out those good vibes, that good energy, and you're going to be able to see, and the good people are going to come to you. Right? So it's so much more than just about what you're eating. And so I like to kind of put that concept out there, because I know it can be a stretch, but it also needs to be said. Because if it's not out there, then you can't believe it, you can't do it, you're not going to think about it. But your why and why you want to eat healthier has to be a lot stronger than, it just makes me feel good. Because if it's not, you're just going to go back to your regular life, and we're creatures of habit. Right? One thing that is a blessing that happened to me was being teased as a 9-year-old for being overweight. It was an actual blessing, because it forced me to change my eating habits younger, earlier on, right? I know how hard it is to change your habits. I am so messy. Like my bedroom, and now I work from home, so it's like not an option anymore, and I realize just how messy I am, because now I have to look at it every day. And that's a habit that's really hard to break, but I'm working at it, and I'm being patient with myself, right? So everybody that, chooses to live a healthier lifestyle, it does require patience. Because you're not going to be able to lose the 30 pounds in a month, even 2 months. Heck, it's taken me 2 years to lose 30 pounds, but it's off, and I've gained a lot of muscle. Like, there's other benefits to my life. And so maybe, if, I could have lost the 30 pounds in a year, but I don't feel like I would have kept off, because it probably would have meant me sacrificing, wine with friends, dessert at holidays, skipped a couple workouts, right? But you always get back on track, versus that person that goes to the gym for really hard for a week and eats really healthy for a week, but then they stop it for 2 weeks, and then they go back a month later, and then they stop it, and then they go back, and then they stop it. A year from now, they've made zero progress. Right? So I want you all to think about where you were 6 months ago where you are right now and where you want to be in 6 months. And ask yourself, if you truly want to progress in your health and your happiness or whatever it is, what do you need to do differently that's going to get you to that goal in 6 months?
Can I ask you about the water? You talked about...
Yes.
Because Mark knows this. I'm so bad at drinking water. He even says it to me when I come in here.
Speaking of...
You don't drink enough water.
It's
true. It's true.
I'm going to give you some right now.
Or should you drink every day?
Great question. So, like everybody, it's individualized, right?
Yeah, I know she wants it.
I want you to drink it. Yeah, we're going to drink a sip together.
Oh, okay.
Ready?
Do you want me to drink the whole entire thing?
Ooh, this is therapeutic. Let's go.
Whatever you want. So typically, your water needs. So that's a great question. Let's start with the questions.
I think you have to drink too, not beer.
I drink a lot of water. I don't need that.
Yeah, no, I'm so bad at this.
Yeah, she does.
Mark knows.
I drink a lot. I drink like 2 or 3 of those things.
Okay. So this is a great question. Everybody is individualized, right? So the main thing we need to know is our body weight.
Yeah.
Okay? Because our bodies are made up of mostly water. So, we need to always be replenishing it. So what you do is you take your body weight. So let's just say, for argument's sake, say we're 200 pounds. You're going to divide that by 2, and you need 100 ounces per day. That's your base. That's your base. If you go to the gym and you exercise for a half hour, so plus 30 minutes of exercise and sweat, then you want to do anywhere from about 8 to 16 ounces more.
Per 30 minutes.
Per 15 to 30 minutes. Here's the thing, though. Everyone's different, right? So, a couple things to consider. If you're really exercising super, super intensely and you go to use the bathroom and your urine's clear, that's a little too much. Because we actually do want your electrolytes, we want your sodium and your potassium in your urine to fuel your workouts, to keep you energized. So I like to use like the color of your urine as the best way to tell your hydration status. Also, I would say if you're feeling thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are key things. So yes, this is a standard formula, right? There's standard formulas for your calorie needs too.
So basically we're taking our weight and we're dividing it.
Right. So these are going to give you general guidelines. But this is what I do. So if you were my client, we were working together, and we knew that water was something you needed to work on, because we've identified that you're eating more because you're eating when you're feeling hungry, but really you're just thirsty. So if you were to drink water, you probably would put that down, right? You're not drinking enough water, so your energy is very low. So we recognize that if we improve your energy, you'll be more likely to get to the gym more frequently. We notice that when you feel energized, you make healthier choices. So it seems like it's just water, but it's a lot bigger than that. It's a lot more than that, right? So we calculate your needs and say, oh my God, let me just keep this off, because it just keeps falling. So another easier way to do, and then if you divide that by 8, that's the amount of cups, right? Does that make sense? Because it's easier to do it in cups than ounces, I would say.
Yeah.
There's an app. It's the cutest app in the world. If you like apps, it's called Plant Nanny. Download it. Plant Nanny.
Write it down.
I have heard that.
I haven't heard that one, no.
So basically, you get to create your plant, and they're like the cutest plants in the world. Like they're characters. And every time you drink a glass of water, the plant grows. But if you don't drink your water, the plant starts to die, and it's so adorable that you actually feel guilty. Like you really feel guilty because the poor plant, like it's gonna die, and you're killing it. So you go to drink more water, and then it survives. So Plant Nanny is a great app, and that'll use the standardized formula. What I'll say is, so if you're someone so when you're not exercising, I just want to say it should be like a light yellow like a pale yellow. If it's very dark in color, it's not enough water. If you're, and there's a big misconception that like coffee and tea dehydrate you, but really it's caffeine in general. What caffeine does is it affects a hormone in the body that makes you use the bathroom more frequently. So it's a diuretic. So if you are using the bathroom more, chances you're losing more fluid, and so then you need to replenish it and replace it. Okay? So if you...
Caffeine is bad.
So no, it's not bad. No, I'm just saying that caffeine will make you use the bathroom more. So you should probably, I drink a ton of coffee. So I calculate a little bit more and I exercise, so my basic needs are almost double with the amount of exercise that I do and the amount of coffee that I drink. Right? So you have to take that into consideration. And something like coffee is going to be darker in color, so it'll be easier for you to recognize, I need to drink a little bit more water, right? Alcohol too, we want to drink more water around then. A good method when you're drinking is having a glass of alcohol and then a glass of water and then and switch to the next, okay? So looking at the color of your urine is helpful. But okay, so say we say your needs every day, we'll do standard, say 8 cups. You need 8 cups a day. Or do we want to do your actual, or it's up to you? I don't mind. Okay, so how much do you weigh, if you don't mind?
126 pounds.
So 126 divided by 2 is
63, right?
Thank you.
I'm not drinking that a day, I can tell you that much.
Okay, so let's forget about exercise, right? So 63. So that's about 8 cups. That actually is 8 cups a day, because 64 ounces. Yeah. So that's 8 cups a day. So your needs are 8 cups a day. This is what you need.
That's what I should drink.
How much are you drinking now, would you say?
Oh God, I'm not drinking.
Herbal tea counts.
I don't drink herbal tea.
Or anything or decaf coffee, decaf tea, those count.
Yeah, so I drink coffee, maybe 2 cups in the morning.
Are they decaf?
No, caffeinated.
So those more count as your fluid, but I really wouldn't count it as water so much.
Yeah.
So about how much?
How many bottles do you have a day? Regular size, like that bottle. No, the bigger bottle.
The bigger one?
The 16?
Maybe I might have a bottle and a half or so.
Okay.
It's not enough.
So 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have about 3 cups a day.
Yeah, but that's about it.
Okay.
This is enough.
Now, is this something you're willing to work on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm conscious of the fact that I don't drink enough, but do you know what happens is that I forget. Mm-hmm. So in the morning I'll be working away and I'll be drinking coffee, and then I'll say, oh geez, I should start drinking water, and I will drink some, but then I forget again. So it's a habit thing.
Yeah.
I need to get it into my mind that I should be drinking more. Mm-hmm. And that's I need to work on that. So.
Absolutely. And I love that you said the word habit, because that's what everything of your nutrition should be or is, right?
Do you like water?
I don't like water if it's too cold. That's another thing.
So
this is nice for me.
Because I used to hate water. And then the more you drink it, the more you fall in love with it.
Yeah.
I used to hate it.
Cold water, I don't like drinking.
I don't either. So I would just say maybe leave a case of one of these. And sometimes too, a big bottle might be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But if you just had one of these at your desk or by your door or in your car. Yeah. And
because then I'll look over and I'll say, oh, there's a bottle of water.
Yeah. There's a number of different ways that you can do it. I use a technique, and I teach people, it's called habit stacking. So if every day you eat breakfast and lunch and dinner, and you usually have, what do you have with your meals? Do you drink
actually, I will drink water now because I don't like soda.
Okay.
So I'm not, into...
So you're already drinking...
More.
Okay.
I will drink water with
So what you want to do then is before you sit down and eat, you want to drink a little bit of water. While you're eating, drink a little bit of water. And before you get up to clean, you drink a little bit of water. So it's already a habit that's there. You're already eating breakfast, you're already eating lunch, you're already eating dinner. We're just adding a little bit to it. So we're stacking onto that habit. So that way it's not okay, I want you to drink every time you go into your car. Mm-hmm. But maybe you never do. So you're not drinking anything, so it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing, and then the app will probably help you because it's that reminder, right?
Try that, yeah. I hadn't heard of that one before.
Try it, and then you can put the notifications on, and it reminds you. A lot of times we know what to do, we just need to be reminded.
Exactly.
Right? So that's where the apps are very helpful, because it makes you think oh.
Can the water be too much? Because I know a couple of people that drink too much water. No, I know.
Technically there's always, you can do too much of anything, right? If you ever find that you're like you said, your clear is really, if your pee is really, really clear and you've been working out and you're feeling a little bit dizzy, then you probably had too much water and you would want to do something like a Gatorade or a Powerade. There's like a cup of that. You don't need the whole bottle.
Wait, what's that?
Because why do we, what?
What's it do? What is it?
If we had the whole bottle?
The Gatorade.
It has electrolytes in it. So it has sodium and potassium. So where salt goes, water follows, right? So when you have a salty meal, you feel really bloated. But when you're exercising and you're getting rid of all that sweat, we want it to stay in to give us that energy.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why that's important.
Well, and now they do have water with electrolytes. Like,
Yes, they have the Essentia.
Vitamin water?
So vitamin water, yes.
they have the plain water, like, you know.
Yeah, so the Essentia or the Smart Water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might work. The only if it's just like sweating outside, then those would be good. If you actually are exercising, you're probably losing sugar as well, and so those sports drinks have sugar, and at that times it is important. Like if in the middle of your workout you have no energy, then you do want to have something that has sugar in it. But what I was saying before, you don't need the whole bottle, because the whole bottle could have like way more sugar than you actually need, right?
Right.
So I like the G2s are good. Because if you're not, for athletes, you would say regular Gatorade. But if you're just someone who's just like exercising regularly, and you need a little sugar to get you through your workout and a little electrolytes, and maybe that'll make you drink more, a G2 would be good because it's like a quarter of the amount of sugar. Okay. Yeah, but it also maybe tastes better. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you have to like put some lemon or something in to make it taste a little.
What? It's horrible. Does it? Do regular Gatorade.
Yeah. Or you could do regular Gatorade and water it down.
Yeah.
Like when a lot of my clients who drink juice will like have them do like half cup of juice with the rest water. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right?
I do that with oranges.
Yeah, it's hard, right? It's hard. And so there's always going to be a lot of areas that we need to change or work on, but that's why it's a lifestyle change. It's like you're never done, right? You're never done. You know, at some point you get like, I would think, this is my concept, right? It's like you start at one job, then you go to the next job, and then you go to another job, you get higher levels, right? Because you learn and you grow, right? So it's like, that's just how I think life is supposed to be, right? So, you know, your nutrition, at first, it might seem like it's impossible, but just do the little things. And then you'll start to feel really good and you'll want to do more little things.
Yeah.
And then you just add on to that.
How important is it to have a breakfast in the morning?
It's a great question. How many people think that it's super important to have breakfast in the morning? Why?
It gives you energy for the day, starts you off right.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you have a good breakfast, then you don't overeat the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. Why else?
Can I say something else?
Sure.
I mean, for me, breakfast, what time is breakfast?
It's a great question, too.
It's because I don't want me to eat a good breakfast at 6:30 in the morning because
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great question.
6:30 a.m. So let's say 10 o'clock, then, right? Then I can have I can have eggs.
Yeah.
Or bread or whatever. But so that's, to me, breakfast. What time is breakfast?
Great question. So technically, if we were going to be, technically breakfast is within 2 hours of waking. You're breaking the fast of when you slept. It's within 2 hours. But to be honest, like if you're someone who you notice, like if you skip breakfast, then you completely overeat your lunch, or you start to crave the salty, fatty foods, and it makes it really difficult for you, then you definitely want to have breakfast, right?
Does it start your metabolism?
It starts your metabolism, and also it's an opportunity for nutrition. Right? So if we don't have breakfast, then we're missing out on the opportunity to have maybe something like oatmeal or fresh fruit or a vegetable omelet, or that's nutrition. Mm-hmm. So our bodies need that. We need fuel. We need energy, and we need the things that are going to prevent diseases later on. So if you're skipping breakfast because of like time constraints, or maybe you're not physically hungry, and you still can have a balanced lunch, and then maybe you have a mini meal in between, and then you have a nice dinner, and you're able to not, like, it doesn't make you over snack at night, then I guess I would say it's okay. But in my mind, a skipped meal is a skipped opportunity for nutrition, and usually it leads to less healthy eating choices as a result, right? So is it the most important meal of the day? I think all meals are important. Is it important? I think so. Right? But it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a yogurt. It could be, everyone's very different. Like whatever it is for you. But it probably shouldn't be, and I don't like to use shoulds or shouldn'ts, right? But if it's no breakfast or a donut, I think you're better off no breakfast, to be honest. Right? Because a donut is a dessert. A muffin, believe it or not, you're better off with a donut than a muffin. When I was in high school and I started changing my eating habits, I started reading up on things, and for so long I was getting the reduced fat blueberry muffin from Dunkin' Donuts, thinking I was making a better choice. And then I started to like read more and you know, study some stuff, and I was like, wow, I'm actually having more calories, more fat, more sugar, and I'm still starving like an hour later. Like, so it doesn't, you know, so for me, I started to realize like a better breakfast would be, you know, I would have like eggs in the morning or oatmeal, you know, whole wheat toast, Greek yogurt.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
I don't have breakfast until...
See, I don't know what time. It's okay.
He needs a car.
Okay. It was so nice to meet you. Let me give you a coaster. In my car.
You make oatmeal with water or milk?
Look what it says. What does it say?
Milk.
Tips with Toni. Put your water here. There you go.
That's for you. We put your water there, okay?
Yeah.
You're welcome. How are we doing on time?
This watch is broken. I can't tell.
Oh, okay. So we have about 7 more minutes. Okay.
It's driving me crazy.
You do oatmeal with milk or water?
Good question. Honestly, it depends on my day. Recently, I'm on this kick where I do water, a scoop of protein powder, and a little 1/4 cup of dried oats, and I mix it together and heat it up, and then I have like, that way I don't have to have, because I do believe in balance. I believe we should have like carbs with protein, and you know, depends on what part of your journey that you're on. For me, I know that I tend to eat a little bit less, and I'm able to have more controlled portions when I have protein at my breakfast. So I put the protein powder in as a way to get me that. Or if not, I'll do it with maybe unsweetened almond milk, and then I'll do like 2 hard-boiled eggs. That's my way to get my protein. Yeah.
I don't have breakfast until about 11 or 12 o'clock because I don't have a problem with energy in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
When I get up, I'm absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I leave here I'm like, oh, I didn't eat. Now, I don't consider that a missed meal. It's just that I'm not hungry until later on.
So the thing with that is, chances are you're not hungry because you're not used to eating at that time.
No.
And if it's not affecting you later in the night to overeat and whatever your goals are and you're reaching your goals, then it's fine. But if you start to find that it leads to you overeating at night, or you've been trying to lose weight and you're not able to lose the weight, it could be because we didn't jumpstart the metabolism. It could be that you're just, you know, because... So going back to that method I was talking about before, like the calories in, calories out, there's a lot to it. So technically, yes, like if we burn more calories than we're taking in, we should lose weight. But there's also something to be said about the efficiency of our metabolism. If you think about in the morning versus at night after we've been, you know, working all day, maybe exercising, all these things that we've been doing, we're tired. Our body's just ready to go to sleep. It doesn't want to have to do any work. It wants to take a rest. So there's theories that eating later at night might make it more difficult to lose that weight because your metabolism's not working as efficiently. But these are all like theories and equations and all these things. It really comes down to like paying attention to you, what works best for you. Yeah.
One of the questions is that I eat a lot of eggs. Is that actually bad for you?
Great question. No. It's not bad.
I didn't think so.
Like
But I
even
wanna
the
know
yolk?
why.
Because people say egg whites are good, but the yolk's bad.
So the yolk has a lot of cholesterol, right? And so we were talking earlier about high cholesterol. So obviously we would assume if we eat cholesterol, we'll have high cholesterol. That's actually not the case. What causes high cholesterol in the body is lots of saturated fat, things like fried foods. New studies are even showing like things like a lot of sugar. And it's usually lack of dietary fiber. So it's the absence of vegetables and whole grains and beans and nuts and seeds. And so that's why people are developing high cholesterol. It's not because of the cholesterol that we eat in our food. It's more of the saturated fat that's carried with it, right? So to go back to your question, or what kind of double question, the yolk is a great source of vitamin D and vitamin B12. It's a fat that's going to make you feel probably a little bit fuller. If you are on a weight loss journey, I would recommend, it makes it easier because we still want to be, fats should be moderate, and protein and carbohydrate, like we want to balance it. So what I might encourage people to do is do like 1 or 2 eggs and then do like a little bit more egg whites, just because that's a way to increase the protein without increasing too many calories and then balancing it. So for like weight loss purposes, yeah. But if if you're trying to gain weight, or you're just like in general, your maintenance mode, or just trying to, whatever, there's nothing wrong with having like 3. My boyfriend is a trainer and he's not trying to do anything other than, he doesn't have to do anything, unfortunately. Like, I don't know how he does it, but his body will always stay the same no matter what he does. But he has 4 eggs every morning, 4 egg yolks every morning. And it's not good or bad for his health. It's just what he eats. It's like, it's normal. But like, it's, if he were trying to do what trainers or bodybuilders do, what's called like a cut phase, he would probably cut that back to like 1 or 2 eggs and then do the rest with egg whites as a way to kind of help with that process. So we always need to know what the goal is, and what else are you doing in your diet, right? So if you're having tons of egg yolks, and you're also eating lots of maybe the ground beef, like the burger, let's say, you're maybe lots of cheese, then we have to take a look. Okay, there's a lot of foods, not the cholesterol. Those foods have cholesterol, but I'd be more concerned about those foods also have saturated fat. And so as a dietitian looking in, I would cut back, I would have you do like a leaner beef or like a ground turkey or ground chicken and like a reduced fat cheddar cheese or something like that before I would have you swap the egg yolk.
Okay.
But you could if you wanted to as an option.
Okay, and what's the deal with milk?
In the sense of like dairy or?
Well, is it unhealthy? Because I've heard a lot of rumors of milk's bad for women, it promotes cancer.
It's good.
Because I know they put things in milk, in cows to produce more milk.
So you're referring more to the hormones, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, so in general, there's never going to be one food that makes or breaks the diet. It's like the whole diet as a whole. So like if you have a very balanced diet and you drink milk, and say that was even true, which it's not, but say it was true, that's not going to be the reason why you end up getting like cancer issues down the line, because the rest of your diet's very balanced. But if a lot of your diet is like highly processed and lots of junk, very little like lean meats and proteins and stuff, and you had the milk, it's not going to really make a dent either way. So I just want to make that clear before I talk about the actual answer to that question. It's just in general, it's that a lot of times like we try to put like that this food is good and this food is bad, but it's the whole lifestyle as in general that we have to look at, right? It's not one that's good or bad. When it comes to milk and dairy, some people do have are lactose intolerant, or they have a dairy allergy, or a sensitivity. And so in that case, they might be better off doing like a plant-based milk, like an almond milk or whatever. Like I have a lot of sensitivities. I wish I could have pizza is my favorite thing in the world, but I can't have gluten and I don't do too much dairy. Personally, it doesn't agree with me. If I could have it though, I would. So my clients that have no issues with it, it's like, okay, let's figure out how to fit pizza in your diet so you're not bored of this food, right? But so not everyone's very different. So if you do recognize that when you have milk, you have a lot of bloating, you probably want to swap that for something like an unsweetened almond milk or unsweetened, coconut milk or something like that.
Basically talking about the health part of it.
But it's a great source of calcium and vitamin D. And the hormones that are used, that's not gonna really affect you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in the South.
You're not going to grow any boobies.
I've heard that people think that with soy milk, which isn't true either.
I have an issue when every time I eat, a few minutes later I have to go to the bathroom.
Like a bowel movement?
Yeah.
What are you eating?
When I eat. I don't know. Anything she cooks.
That's not true. He eats out all day long, so I don't know.
No, anything. It doesn't matter what I eat.
Have you ever been to a gastroenterologist to get it?
Yes.
And what do they say?
Nothing. There was nothing there.
So they never diagnosed you with anything.
So if I go eat
Have you ever gotten an allergy? Have you gotten an allergy test?
Yeah, I did.
And nothing came back? So that's a little hard. So what I would have you do, and it's important to do it under the care of a dietitian, but I wouldn't just tell you to do it, but it's when anyone's having like a lot of stomach issues, they're not sure what's happening, a dietitian will prescribe what's called an elimination diet, which is basically eating barely nothing and then slowly introducing all of the popular allergens and seeing which one is affecting you the most. What you could do if you want, I'll give you guys my card at the end. Just write down what you eat every day, and I'll take a look at it, and we can start to kind of nitpick and see, like, what you might want to do is, like, if you go to the bathroom, like, write what you ate and say, went to the bathroom after this, or, like, had a stomach ache or bloated or whatever, and start to take track of it yourself, and then you'll start to see certain foods might disagree with you more than others, and then your role going forward would then be to, like, cut back on those foods.
So you think it must be food?
Well, if you went to a gastroenterologist and they didn't see any bacteria or anything like that, then it could just be like a food intolerances that you're struggling with. It could be something else. I'm not a doctor. That's another thing. Dietitians, we don't diagnose, we treat. So I can't diagnose. I can't tell you that you have this or you have that. I can just help
If I drink coffee, it's the same way.
Well, coffee, that makes sense. Because that's a diuretic. That's going to make you go to the bathroom with caffeine. But it could be the milk.
Fine.
What do you put in your coffee?
A little milk.
Any sugar or anything like that?
Not all the time.
I mean, you could try, like, if you want to just take dairy out and see if you have any difference, you could try that. But yeah, it takes a while. It's a little annoying. Like, we always have to find the foods. It took me like 10 years to figure out what foods work for me and what don't. You know?
Question: do you guys believe in supplement pills?
So here's the thing with supplements.
Because I don't eat vegetables.
So here's the thing, that's what I was going to say. So supplements don't excuse the fact that you don't, like, they're not going to, it doesn't make it okay then you don't eat vegetables, because the nutrients you get from food are always going to outweigh the nutritional benefits you're going to get from a supplement. A supplement is to supplement the diet. It's to be added in addition. So I would encourage you, if you're not eating vegetables, to, yes, take a multivitamin, because chances are you're not getting what your body needs, but also start to slowly try to incorporate more vegetables. You want to just do, also, before I ask you a question, get your blood work done. Make sure you're not deficient in anything, because when supplements are appropriate are when you have a deficiency. So don't just waste your money on anything. Take a general multivitamin, then go to get blood work done, and then if you find that you're deficient in, say, vitamin D or iron, your doctor will give you a prescription for that. Okay? And then why don't you eat vegetables? What is it? Just don't like the flavor, the taste, the texture. What about it?
The texture.
Texture? And have you tried them in all different forms, all different ways?
I mean, all different kinds, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say forms.
You
You
wouldn't eat
a grilled vegetable?
grilled
them or...
The grilled one is much better than like raw.
Or roasted, or in a smoothie?
I don't like little particles in my mouth. Like, it just freaks me out. Little seeds, don't like.
Okay, so and that's I
don't do fruit either.
What?
How do you survive?
Do you have normal bowel? Sorry if that's too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't eat vegetable fruit. Oh my.
Okay, well, you definitely need a multivitamin then.
Okay.
Yeah, and then go get blood work done just to see if you're deficient in anything. I actually have 2 clients that I'm proud to say started with me, never ate any vegetables, and now they're eating vegetables. But it took 2 years to get them to a point where now they're eating the proper serving. But it's a lot of like strategizing and like one at a time and like getting over the phobia and.
I mean, I've tried that. Like, if something's on my plate, I'll have one, the 6. but it's not.
Is there one in general that you feel like you can tolerate, or you do kind of like a little bit?
In college, I used to do grapefruit,
okay.
which is the worst.
Why is that worse?
It's the one that everyone hates.
You mean the worst flavor? Oh, yeah. Well, so I would honestly
Vegetables,
so start with fruit. Start with doing like a half a grapefruit a day. That's it.
Okay.
At least you're gonna get more vitamin C. There's B vitamins in the white parts. So just start with that. But take a multivitamin and get your blood work done. For sure.
I have been low in iron before when I go do blood.
So so one thing that you would need, which is interesting. So iron, the way to absorb iron is consuming enough vitamin C, which is in fruits and vegetables. So that it could be the reason why you're not seeing it. The grapefruit, though, if you're going to take an iron, I'm probably fine, but just make sure there's no interactions, because grapefruit is the one fruit that interacts with medications and supplements. So just before if you are prescribed an iron supplement, you're probably going to want to take a vitamin C supplement, but just ask them if there's any contradictions with the grapefruit.
So these supplements, I can't just choose which one I take. I need to know.
I mean, you could do like a Centrum one a day. If you're just doing a multivitamin, you can get like a general one and just do what the dosage says. We never want to have two. You don't want to double do it. Like
It's a good one. I'm so bad.
like Centrum is a good brand. Sundown Daily is a good brand. Yeah. So you could. Just a general multivitamin is fine, but when it comes to specifics, like a lot of people will buy like magnesium and vitamin D and this and that and all that, and when they do that, they're spending all their money, honestly, and they're wasting it, and then they're probably taking more than they actually need, and it's just not necessary.
What would you recommend as a probiotic?
Great question. Thank you. So nice. Yes, of course. So this will be the last question, only because I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but I will stick around and yeah, you're welcome. So you can take a probiotic. You know what? Actually, let me just go to my phone, because I was just researching this, because having someone who's been having issues with their stomach, and so there's some that you can refrigerate that they're going to be the best, but they're going to also be the most expensive. But a general one to take, we were looking into a few. Ultimate Flora by Renew Life, and Culturelle. Culturelle Digestive Health is very good as well. Yes. So this is what it looks like. I'll show you a picture. And then, do we know what foods have probiotics?
Vegetables.
No. What foods? Some vegetables. If they're like fermented vegetables, like sauerkraut and pickles, have probiotics.
No.
But probiotics are naturally in like yogurt, kefir, anything that has bacteria. It's good bacteria. So we need our gut. First of all, I think it's I'm like 70% or 80%. A majority of our immune system is in our gut. And whenever we get sick, and we get strep throat as a kid or whatever, we get an antibiotic, right? So what it's doing is it's killing the bacteria so that we don't have that sickness anymore. So it's killing the bad bacteria that cause the strep, but it's also killing the good bacteria. So it's important that we constantly restore our bodies with probiotics so that way we have a healthy gut and a healthy immune system. So taking a pill or a supplement is fine. Right now we're not sure of how much and the recommendations and all that. It's ongoing and it's very promising. But for now I would probably take a probiotic supplement, but also think about what foods you can incorporate in your diet daily that have that, which would be yogurt, kefir, kombucha. I don't know if you ever heard of kombucha. It's a fermented tea. Sauerkraut, kimchi, anything that's been fermented over time. It's how the bacteria grows.
Okay.
Yeah. Great question. So, all right. So, like I said, I'm going to stick around a little bit to answer any other questions that you have. Thank you so much for coming out on a holiday weekend in the rain. I loved being here. And if you have any questions, follow me on Instagram. I'll give you my card, and my website is TipsWithToni.com. I'm also on Facebook. I have a support group there on Facebook for anybody that's trying to commit to healthier living. I have, daily information to give you, and lives, trainings, and such like that. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
I hope you found that helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me at TipsWithToni@gmail.com, TipsWithToni on Instagram. And if you're not already part of the Healthy Lifestyle Support Group with Toni on Facebook, you definitely want to join. All that information is in the bio. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.